Hello everyone, I'm Monty, and today we've come together to examine another criminal case. Holly Lynn Bobo was born on October 12, 1990. She lived with her family, her parents Dana and Karen Bobo, and her older brother Clint, in the town of Parsons, located in Decatur County, Tennessee. Parsons is a small, rural town with a population of about 2,500 people, situated in western Tennessee, roughly 100 miles northeast of Memphis. It is a place with a small population where many residents know each other. Typically, people in this town go to church together, their children go to school together, and they participate in sports together. It's a place where people know each other's names, and always have time to stop and talk and walk together when they go to town. Situated in the heart of the American Bible Belt region, religion plays a fundamental and significant role in the locals' lives. Families attend worship services every Sunday, and the community prays and connects with each other weekly. Holly was a bright and beautiful girl who was loved by everyone who knew her. Despite her initial shyness, those who knew her closely saw a humorous and energetic personality behind the facade. Her friends at Scotts Hill High School enjoyed the time they spent with her from the moment they met her, knowing they could always rely on her for laughter and tears, always ready to offer her shoulder to them. Holly also decided to study nursing because of her caring nature. When Holly decided to pursue nursing due to her kindness and care, it was not a surprise to her family and friends. In addition to her family relationships, Holly was in love with a young man named Drew Scott, and they intended to build a bright and shared future together. For everyone who knew them, their true love was evident, and they felt that they were laying the groundwork for marriage. They often went on dates together, along with Holly's brother Clint, and were all good friends. On the morning of Wednesday, April 13, 2011, Holly was up early, studying for an exam scheduled at 8 a.m. Drew immediately called her after 7 a.m. He was hunting turkeys at Holly's grandmother's farm nearby. After a brief conversation, Holly packed her things and quietly went downstairs, ready to go to school. At 7:40 a.m., a neighbor heading to their car heard a terrifying scream. They managed to ignore the sound of a fight next to the house. The neighbor immediately realized something was wrong and quickly returned inside to inform their mother. Then, the neighbor tried to call Karen Bobo's cell phone at 7:45 a.m. Karen was at the school cafeteria at that time and missed the call, but the neighbor insisted and called the school. When they finally managed to contact Karen, they informed her about the scream. At the Bobo household, the barking of Holly's loyal family dog woke Clint up. He looked out the window and encountered unfamiliar and tense sounds. He saw Holly and a man in the garage. Holly's car didn't always start, and he assumed Drew had come to give her a jump. Clint says, it seemed like Holly was kneeling and Drew was kneeling too. They seemed to be kneeling in the garage facing each other and talking. Holly looked very upset and angry. She was talking more, and he was responding, and things like that. I could barely hear any words. The only words I could hear from here were Holly saying, "No, why?" Confused, Clint hesitated whether to intervene in the potential altercation between the two. He had just woken up and was not fully aware of the situation, so he tried to reach his mother instead and ask if Holly didn't have school that day. However, his calls went unanswered, so he left a text message hoping his mother would read it and respond. Karen called home and spoke with Clint. Clint asked about Holly's school plans because she had gone out with Drew. Karen immediately realized something was wrong because Holly should have already been gone for her exam. Clint asked if Holly had gone hunting with Drew because Drew was there with her. Karen, knowing Drew had gone hunting at their family farm in the morning, said, "Clint, that's not Drew. Grab a gun and shoot him." Clint responded, "You want me to shoot Drew?" He still thought Holly was just talking to her boyfriend. Karen hung up and immediately called 911. Unfortunately, because she called from her workplace at Scotts Hill, she was mistakenly connected to the wrong county's communications department, and valuable time was lost. Clint saw Holly and a man in camouflage heading towards the woods. Now that they were walking side by side, he could see that the man was about 5 feet 10 inches to 6 feet tall and weighed about 200 pounds. They continued on their way and went down a specific path for ATVs in the surrounding forests. He noticed Holly was not being dragged but walked willingly. Karen called Dana, and they both went home. Upon their arrival, they saw Clint and the police searching for Holly. The police had arrived at the scene almost immediately after Clint's 911 call, having already been informed of the situation by the same neighbor who had called Karen. There was no sign of Holly or the camouflaged man. Karen Bobo was desperate to find her daughter and asked the police to issue an Amber Alert. An Amber Alert activates an urgent bulletin that must be sent to law enforcement agencies, broadcasters, transportation agencies, and the wireless industry if a child has been abducted. Specifically, the abducted person must be 17 years old or younger, so initially, Karen lied and claimed Holly was 17 years old. Social media posts with Amber Alert started circulating, and the community was mobilized. The news of Holly's abduction spread like wildfire among the people of Parsons, and they were shocked that such an event could occur in their small community. Volunteers with horses, all-terrain vehicles, and even on foot came to the scene. Everyone was looking for a blonde girl wearing a pink t-shirt and light blue jeans, and a man in camouflage. Keep in mind, the turkey hunting season had just started over a week ago, and wearing camouflage clothes at that time of the year in Decatur County was not unusual. A long driveway leads to the Bobo's residence. The house is on a large piece of land with a single-story home surrounded by forests. There are not many ways to enter or exit this rural area in western Tennessee. The Bobos also asked the police to set up roadblocks, as the routes in the area are complex and access is limited. However, the police prepared the scene and insisted on waiting for the arrival of tracking dogs before pursuing Holly's trail without assistance. Many of the volunteers who appeared were not trained searchers, and the police were concerned that vital evidence might be compromised by the large number of people moving around the abduction scene. About 2 hours after Clint last saw Holly entering the woods, law enforcement began organizing searchers. Authorities, search dogs, helicopters, and thousands of volunteers moved from area to area, hoping for any sign of the missing woman. The police also tried to locate Holly's phone. They tracked the pings and discovered that her mobile phone had moved from Decatur County north towards a wooded area near Interstate 40, then took a more southerly route. The mobile phone's movement stopped around 8:30 to 9 a.m. on Gooch Road. The police soon looked into the possibility that the suspect might be inside a house, leading to a situation similar to Clint's. Authorities tried to clear any doubts and suspicions. They immediately conducted an investigation about him. In efforts to find clues around the home, the investigation team came across a fresh footprint indicating additional presence. This footprint, derived from wearing Crocs shoes, belonged to an unknown individual, possibly the abductor, as none of the Bobo family members owned such shoes. At a point opposite the house, a volunteer found a piece of duct tape with blonde hair strands attached to it, although no confirmation was provided regarding its connection to Holly's disappearance. A blood sample found in the garage confirmed it belonged to Holly, doubling the urgency to find her. Clint Bobo, the sole direct witness to the abduction, was interrogated for more than 17 hours and was temporarily detained. He underwent forensic tests, and reports suggested that a physical inspection was also conducted on him. Clint also passed a polygraph test successfully and was hypnotized in hopes that his memories would reveal new clues. Despite ambiguities and inconsistencies in his story, Clint remained honest and strived in the search for his sister. Drew, Holly's boyfriend, had gone hunting in a nearby area with his father and had arrived for work at 8 a.m. as usual, thus could not have been near the Bobo residence on the morning of Holly's abduction. Subsequent evidence based on mobile data and testimony from a member of Holly's family who saw Drew at his grandmother's property confirmed his location that morning. The police found no connection between him and Holly's abduction. By midnight, no trace of Holly had been found, and the Bobo family prepared themselves for the first of many sleepless nights to come. The search for Holly continued for another 3.5 years, accompanied by numerous hardships and disappointments. At the time of Holly's disappearance, rumors existed in Parsons about her being caught up in a situation related to drugs. Baseless stories placed Holly at a house on Engling Street in Scotts Hill a week before her disappearance, a house under surveillance for drug activity. From here, the stories are based on a theory. This rumor believes that because Holly was helping the police, she was identified as a snitch and abducted by local drug dealers. Those who believed in this theory also felt it explained why Karen quickly told Clint to shoot the man with Holly. Perhaps she knew Holly was working with the police and was in immediate danger. Detectives also speculated whether this was the reason for the FBI's involvement from day one. Was Holly working for them? None of these stories could ever be proven. Someone like Holly, a thoroughly American girl who went to church, seemed entirely out of place in a drug house. There is no logical reason for the police to use her as an informant and expose her to such clear danger. This only added more confusion and despair to the desperate efforts to find Holly alive. Authorities shifted their focus to another person in Decatur County, Terry Britt, a registered offender who lived near Holly's residence. Britt had spent most of his life behind bars for involvement in crimes and abductions. He was known for targeting young women with specific features, blue eyes and blonde hair, just like Holly. His residence in northern Decatur matched the location of Holly's phone signal on the day she disappeared. When the police visited Britt's home, his initial reaction was preemptive denial, declaring his innocence even before any questions were asked by the officers. Britt's response to the news about Holly's disappearance was a claim that he and his wife were at a bath fixture store. However, the store had no record of their purchase. With growing suspicion, authorities obtained a search warrant and sent search dogs to inspect his home. The dogs showed interest in 2 of Britt's vehicles and some tools around the house. Although these items were sent for DNA testing, no definitive evidence was found. Authorities continued to monitor Britt's phone calls in the hope of finding court-worthy evidence, but these surveillances led nowhere, leaving ambiguity around his innocence or guilt. However, an audio recording of a conversation between Britt and a TBI agent, Terry Dicus, emerged, showing Britt expressing disturbing fantasies about involvement in Holly's abduction. Despite this distressing content, Britt continued to assert his innocence. Efforts to find conclusive evidence continued, and eventually, a handwritten receipt was found in Britt's safety deposit box. By February 2014, the community was still searching for answers. Meanwhile, Zack Adams' name was brought up as someone related to Holly's case, steering the investigation in a new direction. Zack's brother, Dylan, accused Zack of having seen Holly at their house. He claimed Holly seemed compliant but was warned by Zack to keep quiet. Dylan also revealed that Zack had raped Holly and filmed the act. Despite Dylan's claims, their mother believed he was coerced into providing this information. Zack Adams, born on June 7, 1986, had spent most of his life in Decatur County, Tennessee, with a notable record in academics and sports. He had a close relationship with his younger brother, Dylan, a kind individual with learning difficulties. Dylan claimed to have information about Holly's fate. According to his statements, he saw Holly sitting in Zack's living room on the morning of April 13, on a green chair, wearing a pink shirt. 2 other individuals were present, his cousin, Jason, and their friend, Shane. Dylan further claimed these men had abused Holly, even going so far as to record their disturbing actions. For 3 years, Zack was shockingly confident about Holly's disappearance, claiming the police would never find her. The investigation continued. What everyone wondered was how Holly and Zack could be connected. Although they operated in entirely separate social circles, the likelihood of their paths crossing in a small community like Parsons seemed slim. The only visible connection was that Karen Bobo, Zack's elementary school teacher, had taught dozens of local children in such a small community. Daniel Darnell, Zack's childhood friend, stated that Zack had mentioned Holly several times before her abduction. Zack had participated in the annual rabbit hunting festival, held 4 days before Holly's disappearance. Darnell claimed Zack and 2 friends closely observed Holly all night. On the morning of September 7, 2014, Larry Stone and a group of hunters searching for ginseng plants near Country Corner, north of Holly's home in Darden, felt something was amiss. Stone, familiar with the area, felt a strong urge to turn back upon approaching a ravine near a cell tower. What Stone discovered forever changed the Holly Bobo case. He was shocked to find a bucket and nearby, a skull and other skeletal remains hidden under the underbrush. Stone immediately notified the police. Throughout the investigation, investigators uncovered evidence and documentation. In 2017, after years of denial, Jason Autry reached a plea deal with the prosecution. He agreed to plead guilty to facilitating aggravated kidnapping and solicitation of murder in exchange for testifying in the trial scheduled for September 2017. Jason's testimony conflicted with previous statements made by Dylan. Zack Adams's trial began in September 2017. Despite the absence of direct forensic evidence linking Adams to Holly's murder, prosecutors had a strong point: Jason Autry's complete confession, which provided a shocking depiction of Holly Bobo's fate. Autry testified in court that on the morning of the abduction, he had gone to Shane Austin's trailer to buy drugs and found both Zack and Dylan Adams there. Shane Austin was busy destroying evidence in a burning barrel while Holly's body, wrapped in a carpet, lay in the back of his Nissan pickup truck. Autry agreed to Adams's request for help in disposing of the body, and they drove to a secluded area near the Tennessee River, under Interstate 40 bridge. Their plan was to cut open the body's abdomen to prevent it from floating, exactly what Shane Austin had told the police. However, when they pulled the body out of the truck, it suddenly moved. She was still alive. Zack quickly returned to the truck, grabbed his gun, and ordered Autry to go a little further away to ensure the area was clear. After that, he shot Holly and moved her body back into the truck. Autry said they quickly left the scene to avoid being seen in case the gunshot was heard. Adams eventually dropped him off, claiming he would handle the situation himself. They saw each other again a few days later, and Adams claimed to have buried the body in a park, a different location from where Holly's remains were eventually found. Autry claimed that Adams was aware of the situation on the day Holly was abducted because that day, he, along with Austin and Dylan, had gone to the Bobo's house to teach Clint how to cook methamphetamine. This claim was denied by Clint Bobo. He stated that he did not know Zack Adams or Shane Austin at that time. However, Autry's testimony showed that Holly had seen the three men and told them to leave, leading to her abduction. He then claimed that the Adams brothers and Shane Austin took her to a barn and raped her. Moreover, Jason claimed that Zack stated they were at Holly's house that fateful morning. However, his claim was denied by Clint. With Jason's testimony, Zack emerged as the primary suspect, although several witnesses claimed Zack had killed Holly. Zack's former girlfriend, Rebecca, testified in court, and Zack's lawyer, Jennifer Thompson, attempted to discredit her testimony by pointing to alleged drug use and unreliable memory. Thompson also claimed Rebecca had been coerced, but investigators continued to pursue evidence proving Zack's responsibility for Holly's murder. Despite discrepancies in the evidence and Clint's statements not aligning with the nature of the charges, Zack Adams was found guilty on September 22, 2017, of kidnapping, raping, and murdering Holly Bobo. Initially, Zack faced the death penalty, but he ultimately managed to change his sentence to life imprisonment by filing a plea for service in prison, which was accepted. 5 years later, in 2022, he requested another trial but was denied by the Tennessee Court of Appeals. In 2018, Dylan Adams, Zack's brother, was sentenced to 35 years in prison for his role in the murder. On the other hand, Jason Autry was released in September 2020 but faced new legal charges a few months later and was indicted on federal charges for an unrelated crime in 2021. In 2020, Tennessee legislators passed the Holly Bobo Act to expand the Endangered Persons Alert Program in Tennessee, named in her memory. This law allows the TBI to issue an alert for any individual under 21 who is missing, whereas the previous age limit was 18. The law was enacted in January 2021. Despite legal hurdles and challenges, Holly's family continues to believe that justice has been served regarding the accused. Following Zack's confession and conviction, Karen directly addressed him in her statement, saying, "I know my daughter fought for her life and pleaded because she loved life and enjoyed it. But you chose to take it from her and showed no remorse for your actions. No, look at me. You have no regret for what you've done. Finally, after 6.5 years, I feel that justice has been served for my daughter. We've had a tough journey, and over these 6.5 years, we've traveled a difficult and unimaginable path. Therefore, I look forward to the future we have ahead, hoping we can rebuild whatever life remains and any other happiness that may exist in life.